everyone, and welcome to Senior Susie Stamps. I'm Julia, and I'm glad you're here today. Before we get started on today's project, I wanted to let my YouTube followers know that I have started learning to watercolor. And it was suggested that perhaps I might post some videos to the public YouTube where everybody can watch me learn how to watercolor, which is really, really intimidating to me. But let me show you some of the cards that I've made with my watercolor, and you can leave me a comment, please, and tell me if you're interested in seeing me learn how to watercolor. There's so many wonderful watercolorists out there. I can't imagine that anybody would be interested, but one never knows. You might be. At any rate, I am on day 10 in my little watercolor journey so far, and if you're interested, I'll pluck up my courage and try to do some videos. So let's get started in today's project. It is going to be a white base and then a white cover sheet that is 3 3/4 by 5, and I've already cut that down because I don't want to cut it down afterward. Let me show you what we're going to work on today. These are some triple ornament cards, and they're all a little different. The concept is all the same, so I wanted to show them to you from the start so that you have an idea of what we're working towards today. This is the one that we're going to make today. It's a little more rigid in the circular structure than these have been, but it's all the same concept, and you can do it in ink or in watercolor or in pen, however you want to do it, pencil. But this is the one we're going to do today, and the reason I wanted to do this series is for folks that don't have a lot of stamps, or perhaps like me, where all their stamps are still packed in storage. And I thought maybe that way we could get some ideas out there. You'll need something to draw circles with or punch circles with. And I have used punches today simply because it's easier. And this is my starting point. I have 1/4, 1 1/2, and 1 3/4. So there's 3 of them are all different sizes, and they kind of are just a little bit smaller than the others. So what I started out with is just one of my cover sheets, and I just punched 3 holes in it so that I could use that as a template. And then you can see I ran a little tight on this edge here, so I just taped another piece of paper on there. Is this a really loose project, and you can kind of do what you want to with it. So I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to line it up where I can find the middle, and by doing that, this is the middle line here, and then I'm going to tape it down where it doesn't move too much. And I just have some repositionable clear tape here. You could use washi tape or whatever you want to do this kind of thing. Now, this card has a lot of different steps to it, and you don't have to do all the steps by any stretch of the imagination. I just found it more interesting to do a lot of steps to it. So I'm going to mark my hanging wire for 3 different ornaments in the approximate location that I think they're probably going to need to be. Sometimes you have to move things a little bit and be willing to kind of do that and back up and regroup. And that's why, of course, I'm using pencil for this first step. And then I'm going to take my larger one and put it in the middle. And what I want to do is leave enough room at the bottom for my sentiment. So I'm going to put it kind of up about this far. So I'm lining up this edge of my paper here to do that. And I'm just going to draw my circle, and I'm doing it in pencil so that I can erase it if I don't like the placement of it. And then I'm going to move up just a little bit and put my next largest ornament in, and I'm not going to draw all the way around. I'm just going to come over to this line, and that actually should shift up maybe just a little bit more. Let's look at this and see. We'll bring this one up a little bit more here, and then maybe redo that second one there. And that's why we do it in pencil, because it's really easy to erase at this point and move something up, but you can't really do it after you've started inking in here. And then the next step that we're going to do is to go back over these with a pen around the perimeter. Yeah, I think that'll be fine, and then we'll have our sentiment down here. There's a little ink bleed that got on that, but it'll be covered up when we get to that point. So I'm going to take this pen, and it's a Signo Uniball 207 microline pen, and I'm just going to go back and draw in, well, I want to erase the drop lines here out of my ornaments. And trust me, there'll be enough ink put down on these that you won't ever see any of this pencil work at all. But it's hard to get the ink line in once you have a lot of ink on your paper. So I'm just going to go around these carefully so that my ornament will have a hard outside line. There we are. So there's our 3 ornaments. And now, because I can't draw those little holders to save my life, I got my little punch thing out, and I'm just going to draw my little ornament holder here on each one of them. It makes it kind of look like a fishing bobble, but it all comes together after a while, so hang on. Now, there we go. And that's our starting point. And so now what we want to do is to go ahead and mask off and start coloring these with our ink blender. And I'm going to do the red one first, and you can see now why I taped everything down. Now, I'm using 2 different shades of the same color family to do these. And we'll start with the red family first in the lightest color, and I'm just going to add color in all over this ornament in a kind of mottledy way. Mottledy, that's a new one, isn't it? That's okay. And I'm going to try to keep the darker color to the outside of this, and that's all I'll need that one for. And then I'm going to go ahead with my darker color and just kind of do a little edge work here. And that's fine. And then I'm going to bring some stencil in. And these are some medallion stencils that I got in a set. I'll leave a link to these. I got them from Amazon if I can find them still available. And so that you can look at them. They're very reasonably priced, or they were when I bought them, and they have a lot of different uses. So now I want to put some good solid color on these once I get them lined up where I want them. So here we go. And it doesn't matter, we're not going to cover up all of the light spots at all. There we are. So that's fine. And then I'm going to set this to the side because that's all we'll need that one for. I noticed on that particular stencil, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's some little ink dots down here. So you have to be kind of careful with this red ink, because you know me and red ink, I don't go play well with it at all. But so I'm now going to cover this up, and is that the right size? I believe it is. And I want to make sure my tape doesn't obstruct any of these others, because we're going to go in and ink them out next. And so now I'm going to go in with the purple shades and do this one next. I'm going to line up my little punch circle here, and again we're going to do the lightest color first. Hold everything down. This has a little gray tone to it, but it really brightens up when we put the elegant eggplant in on top of it. So that's all I'll need this one for. And I'm going to come right back in with elegant eggplant. And one of the reasons that I chose these particular stencils is that they all have a center. Oh, I need to, hang on, sorry. But they all have a little center point because I wanted to put a little gem inside of those center points. Now, there we go. And now we're going to put this ink down and blend it in well next to the mask on the red one so that it has got good coverage. And there we are. And there's stencil number 2 finished. And so now we'll pull this one over. I'm through with my purple ink, and the next colors that I'm going to use are a couple of blues. And again, it's a light one and a more intense color. Just use what you've got. You've got all kinds of supplies. You don't need to use the same ones I do. These turn out very well with all kinds of different colors. And we're going to go through the same process, just lightly coloring the entire ornament, leaving it kind of light in the middle, and then blending a little bit of dark around the outside. There we go. And then I have another stencil. This one happens to have little dots on it, and we're going to ink blend right over top of that. And get some good coverage through these little dots in this stencil. There we are. Now, I'm through with that stencil, and I'm through with this ink for right now. So let's pull this up. I want to put this in the trash because I've used it several times. And I need to pull this little up. Now, this is a nice card front, and you could just as easily put a nice Merry Christmas here on the front of it, and it would do well. I am going to go ahead and draw my little ornament hangers down in my black pen and put some little lines in the ornament hanger part here. Don't worry about that because we're going to go back and put a second and third line in. Might as well do that now. It just makes these are a little bit more whimsical cards when you have a little bit of movement on the hangers that way. And if you wanted to, you could put a third one in. And so you can see on these now, if you make a little mistake on your pen work, don't worry about it. It's going to be all right. Now, the next thing I want to do is take these off the table here and get rid of this tape. And I'm going to go back in and get some ink spatter put down. So I want to get some scrap paper up underneath here, and I'm going to move my card base out of the way. Ask me why I did that. Okay, so now from the last card I made, I have some ink already on my little acrylic blocks here, and I have my paintbrush over here, and I'm going to get my paintbrush wet just a little bit now. And I'm going to reawaken these this ink up just a little bit so that I can do just a little bit of spatter. And I'm going to do a general overall spatter with all 3 of these ink colors. So I'm going to rinse my brush out. Come back in and reawaken the red. And the red's a really intense color, and I don't want to make any more spatter on that than I need to, so I'm going to kind of dry my brush off a little bit there. There we go. And then I'm going to rinse my brush again and go in and wake my purple up, the Elegant Eggplant, because it has dried on that block. And there we go. It's just a little controlled spatter. There we are. And now I'm going to put some more water onto my little acrylic block here and really dilute that ink down some and kind of dry my brush out. And I'm going to give myself just a little bit of background color. This will fade back, so don't have a panic attack. First time I did this, I thought, oh my goodness, what have you done? So I'm going to rinse my brush out and go back and get some blue. And it's very diluted at this point. And I'm just giving the card a little more background. And now on the red, I want to be very, very diluted on it. Trust me on this, reds are very strong colors, and you just want to be as dilute as you possibly can on those. And then just put a little bit of pink in. And it's amazing how that little bit of extra color that mimics these ornaments really makes the card have a lot more character. Okay, I'm through with this now. And the next step that I would like to do, I think I'll do my black edge around the outside here. I have a very well loved edge template, if you will. I don't know what else to call it, but I have some tear rulers, and I tore the edge off of this doubled up piece of copy paper, so it's kind of got a little bit of substance to it. And I'm just going to lay this down and get my chisel point Sharpie and put a little deckled edge on this. And it really adds a lot to the card, especially if you're not doing any layers on this card. And the only thing that I wanted to have any dimension on this card is 3 little tiny gems that we're going to put in the middle of these little ornaments. This deckle edge ruler could have just as easily been cut with some deckle scissors, or it could be a torn edge. You just have to have something that's kind of thick enough and has enough deckle to it to make your edge interesting. And then go back and clear up any little white spots. See, there's a little white spot right there. And then we're going to come right back to the top here and do the same thing. One last edge here. And then this little guy can go back and live in the drawer where it lives with the rest of my little templates and be pulled out again for another use at some point in the future. Okay, now the next thing I want to do to this card front is put just a little bit of light gray alcohol marker around the base of these little ornaments. There you go. And now I'm going to come just here on the red one around the outside to give it just a little shadow effect onto these 2 ornaments that are behind it. There we go. And that pulls the red one up and out that way. Now I'm ready to glue this onto my card front, and this is going to be a top fold lateral sides card, And I'm going to use my Books by Hand PVA glue today again. There we go. And of course I have to have my tweezers. And because this was cut at 3 3/4 by 5, there's going to be a nice white border around this card, and I'm going to rub it from the back. And the reason I do that is because sometimes that red pigment and a little bit of spatter might not be completely dry, and it's always better to do a little rubbing from the back than smearing on the front, especially at this stage in the game. Okay, now let's see what's next. We're going to do some gems, and I have some little 3mm gems here in a color that kind of corresponds with the ornament itself. So we'll put those in place. I have my favorite little jewel picker here. It's my little Marvy jewel picker. They're wonderful. If you need a jewel picker, I can highly recommend them, and I will leave a link to that in the description box below as well. And then I have a purple one in here, so hang on, one more. There we are. And then in keeping with a flat card, I have Happy and Joyful Christmas that I typed on my computer, and then I printed it out and cut it down, and then I have it stuck up on a heavier piece of white cardstock, and I'm just going to glue that flat down on this card as well. So these were kind of a little complicated, but they didn't take very long at all, and they're ready to roll out. So let me show you the rest of these cards that I made using the same type of procedure. Hang on. This one was watercolor. This one was watercolor, and I have a little bit of Wink of Stella on the yellow one. It's really pretty. This one was ink, and I used my little micro smoosher and smooshed the ink on that one. And then this one was also watercolor. So here's the cards for today, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you again soon. And let me know if you want to see my little journey into watercolor. It'll be rough, I'm just telling you right now. So have a great week, y'all, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye, everybody.